Well, hello, my name's Dennis Fansett and I'm a Giving Ministry Advisor with the Diocese of Newcastle, and today, in our first talk through our series in Generosity Week, I want to look at how giving helps us own the vision. Now, it doesn't matter how little or how much we give. When we invest in something financially, it becomes part of us. That's why Jesus said, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Now, when I was a kid, I was the youngest of 7 children, and my parents didn't have much money. My parents were honest people, they went to church every week, but they were just poor. My older brothers and sisters tell me all sorts of horror stories about the days the electricity got cut off because we couldn't afford to pay the bill, or not being able to go to school because they had no shoes. But I think most of those incidents happened before I was born. By the time I came along, things had improved slightly. One thing I do remember, though, is that we didn't have a car. Just couldn't afford it. Everyone else seemed to have one, but just not us. But one day my dad said that he thought if he and Mum saved up, and if we were happy to go without things like not have a holiday and stuff, then he reckoned in about 2 years' time, if we were careful and kept to our savings plan, then we'd have enough. But then my dad asked me if I would like to give him back 1p from my pocket money each week towards the savings pot. Now, 1p was worth a lot more in those days than it is now. There were all sorts of interesting sweets, flying saucers and fruit gums and licorice that a 10-year-old could buy for 1p. It meant I'd have to miss out, go without. But I so wanted my parents to have the car that I happily agreed. I only got 2 shillings pocket money in those days, and for those who've never heard of old money, that's 24 pence. And each week, my dad would give it to me in full, and it was entirely up to me if I gave him 1p back. He never forced me. Sometimes I'd ask Dad excitedly if we'd had enough money yet, but he'd shake his head and smile and say we had a lot further to go. And then one day he said he thought we were about halfway there, and a few months after that he said we were getting close, and finally, one Saturday, he drove home in a car. Now here's the question. Do you think my 1p every week actually helped? Well, I never had a window into my parents' finances, but I suspect not. But did it catch me up in the vision? Did it make me feel part of it? Absolutely. When that car came, I felt like I'd had something to do with it, contributed to it. I can remember that car. It was a Zephyr Zodiac. Yes, we're talking about the 1960s. I can remember its registration number, VKK592. I can't remember the registration number of any of my subsequent cars, or cars my parents had, even my own cars for that matter. But for that first car, that was the vision I'd contributed to, I'd sacrificed for. Now, I've heard it said that when God gently suggests that we should give, it's not so much that he needs to raise money, but it's more that he wants to raise children. And by children, I mean us. God wants to catch us up in what he's doing. The vision of our parish or benefice, the vision of our diocese, God wants us to reach the point where we feel that we own it. This is my parish. This is my benefice. This is my diocese. Even simple things like contributing to the cost of our building or the share of paying the stipends of clergy across the diocese. God wants us to be thinking, I own that. I'm contributing to that. I believe he is less concerned with how little or how much and more concerned with our heart attitude. He wants to help us reach the point where we're thinking, I'm part of this, I'm contributing towards it. I care about what happens. I can't wait to see our objectives and mission goals fulfilled. Even though I'm not old enough to drive myself, I still want my family to have the car. So this Generosity Week, why not take some time out to review What do I believe? What am I committed to? Is faith a big part of my life? If not, should it be? And is my treasure where my heart is? In other words, am I making a financial contribution to what I believe in? And is my contribution a genuine expression? Now today I've talked about being generous in the context of giving to our local church and our vision. But I pray that God will bless you and draw alongside you as you honestly consider those issues before him. Tomorrow, however, we'll be looking at generosity outside of the church context. What does the Bible mean when it tells us that Abraham was blessed to be a blessing? And how can we follow in his footsteps and calling in our everyday lives? I'll see you then. Thank you.